There was once a poor woman who gave birth to a little baby boy, and as he came into the world, he had a caul on his head, a rare sign that made everyone gasp. It was said, almost whispered, that such a child was destined for greatness. In fact, the prophecy claimed that in his 14th year, he would marry the king's own daughter. Not long after, something unexpected happened. The king himself came into the village, but no one recognized him. He moved among the people like a common man. Curious, he asked, "What's the news here?" The villagers eagerly replied, "A child has just been born with a caul. You know what they say, whatever such a person does turns out well, and it's been foretold that he'll marry the king's daughter." Now, the king, he did not like that. His heart was cold and darkened with jealousy. He felt anger rise. How dare fate choose a poor boy to wed his daughter? So, wearing a mask of kindness, the king went to the baby's parents. Smiling warmly, he said, "You poor souls, let me raise your child. I will care for him as if he were my own." At first, the parents refused, but then he offered them gold, a fortune, enough to change their lives forever. They hesitated. After all, he was a luck child. Surely, everything would turn out well for him, right? And so they said yes. But the king, he was a liar. He took the baby, locked him in a wooden box, and rode away. When he reached a deep, silent lake, he looked down, and with no remorse, threw the box into the water. This, he thought, will free my daughter from this unwanted prophecy. But fate had other plans. The box didn't sink. It floated gently, like a boat blessed by destiny. Not a single drop of water entered, and it drifted quietly until it reached the mill dam just 2 miles from the king's city. There, a miller's boy was standing. By chance, or perhaps something more, he saw the box, pulled it out with a hook, and opened it, expecting treasure. And what he found was life. A beautiful baby boy, wide-eyed and smiling, perfectly safe. He ran to the miller and his wife, and when they saw the child, their eyes filled with tears. They had no children of their own. "This is a gift," the wife whispered, "a gift from God." And so, they took the boy in. They raised him with love, with care, with kindness, and the child, he grew up, full of goodness. One stormy evening, the wind howled through the trees and rain lashed down like icy needles. The king, seeking shelter, happened upon the very same mill. He stepped inside, dripping wet, his eyes scanning the room, and then they landed on a tall, handsome youth. Something about the boy stopped him cold. He turned to the mill folk and asked, casually, "Is that your son?" The miller and his wife shook their heads. "No," they said, "he's a foundling. 14 years ago, during a storm just like this, he floated down to our mill dam in a box. The mill boy pulled him from the water." And in that moment, the king's blood ran cold. It was him, the luck child, the boy he had tried to drown, now standing before him, alive and stronger than ever. But the king smiled a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "My good people," he said softly, "could the youth deliver a letter to the queen, I will pay him 2 gold pieces, as the king commands," they replied, unaware of the danger. The boy was eager to help. He packed the letter carefully and set off on foot. But hidden inside that letter was a death sentence. The message read, "As soon as the boy arrives with this letter, let him be killed and buried immediately. All must be done before I return." The forest was thick, and shadows stretched long across the path. As night fell, the boy realized he was lost. Cold and weary, he spotted a faint light flickering in the distance. He followed it and came to a small, crooked cottage. Inside, by the fire, sat an old woman, alone, silent. She turned sharply when the door creaked open. "Who are you?" she asked. "Where did you come from?" "I'm from the mill," the boy said. "I'm on my way to the queen with this letter, but I've lost my way. Please, may I stay here tonight?" The woman's face grew pale, her voice dropped low. "You poor boy," she whispered, "you've stumbled into a den of thieves. When they come home, they'll kill you." The boy looked her straight in the eyes. "Let them come," he said softly. "I'm not afraid. but I am so tired." And with that, he lay down on a wooden bench and drifted into sleep. So young, so brave, so unaware of how close he was to death. Not long after the boy had fallen into peaceful sleep, the door burst open. The robbers were back. They stormed into the room, their eyes narrowing as they saw the boy lying there. "Who's this?" one growled. "What is that stranger doing here?" The old woman stepped forward bravely. "Please," she said, "he's just a lost child. He came out of the forest, cold and tired. He's on his way to the queen. He carries a letter." The robbers snatched the letter and tore it open. Their eyes scanned the words, and their blood turned cold. It ordered the boy's death. Even thieves' hard men with cruel hands felt a pang of mercy. Their leader clenched his jaw, then said, "He doesn't deserve this." Without hesitation, he ripped the letter to shreds. Then, he dipped his pen and wrote a new one. "The bearer of this letter shall, upon arrival, be wed to the king's daughter without delay." They said nothing more, just let the boy sleep safely until dawn. When the morning sun painted golden streaks across the forest, they handed him the letter and pointed him in the right direction. He smiled, thanked them, and continued his journey clueless of what had almost befallen him. When the queen read the new letter, she didn't hesitate. A grand wedding feast was prepared. Music, flowers, laughter filled the air, and the princess, she looked upon the youth and saw that he was kind and handsome and full of warmth. She took his hand, and they were married. Days passed in joy and laughter. They were happy, genuinely happy. But then, the king returned. When he walked into the palace and saw the boy, the luck child, married to his daughter, his face twisted in rage. "What is the meaning of this?" he demanded. "I gave a very different order." The queen, calm and poised, handed him the letter. "See for yourself," she said. The king read it, and read it again. It wasn't his letter. It had been replaced. He turned to the boy, his voice sharp. "Where's the letter I gave you? Why did you bring this one instead?" The boy blinked. "I don't know," he said honestly. "It must have been changed in the forest, while I slept." The king clenched his fists. He could feel fate slipping through his fingers. "Well then," he said coldly, "you shall not have it all your way. If you want to keep my daughter, you must earn her." His voice was low and bitter. "Bring me 3 golden hairs from the devil's head. Fetch them from hell itself. Only then can you keep her." He thought, "This task is impossible. He will never return." But the boy, he smiled gently. "I will fetch the golden hairs. I'm not afraid of the devil." And just like that, he kissed his wife goodbye, nodded to the queen, and set off on a journey into the unknown. The journey was long, but the luck child walked with purpose, his heart steady. The road led him to a large town. As he approached the gates, a watchman stepped forward and asked, "What's your trade, boy, and what do you know?" "I know everything," the boy replied with quiet confidence. The watchman's eyes lit up. "Then maybe you can help us. Our market fountain it once flowed with sweet wine, but now it's bone dry. Not even water trickles out. Can you tell us why?" "You shall know," the boy promised. "Just wait until I return." And he kept moving. Farther down the road, he came upon another town, where a gatekeeper stopped him with the same question. "What is your trade? What do you know?" "I know everything," said the boy again. The gatekeeper leaned closer. "Then tell us this. We have a tree that once bore golden apples. Now it stands, lifeless, not even a leaf. Can you tell us what's wrong?" "You shall know," the boy replied. "Wait until I return." He walked on. Eventually, he came to a wide river. A ferryman sat on the shore, his boat rocking in the current. He looked weary, his eyes tired, his hands calloused. As the boy approached, the ferryman asked the same question. "What's your trade, boy, and what do you know?" "I know everything," he said. "Then answer this, if you can," said the ferryman. "Why must I always row back and forth, and never be free?" "You shall know," the boy said gently. "Just wait until I come back." The ferryman ferried him across the wide water, and there it was, the entrance to hell. It was black, charred, the air thick with smoke. Everything around him reeked of heat and soot. But the devil wasn't home. Instead, an old woman sat by the fire, nestled in a massive armchair. Her eyes were sharp, but her face wasn't cruel. In fact, she didn't look wicked at all. "What do you want?" she asked, her voice more curious than cold. "I need 3 golden hairs from the devil's head," he answered boldly. "Without them, I can't keep my wife." The old woman let out a long breath. "That's quite a request," she said. "If the devil finds you here, he'll kill you." She studied the boy. "But I pity you," she whispered, "and I'll help you." She reached down, tapped the boy gently on the head, and transformed him into an ant. "Creep into the folds of my dress," she said. "You'll be safe there." "Thank you," said the boy, "but there are 3 questions I need answers to as well." And he told her of the dry wine fountain, the golden tree that no longer grew, and the ferryman trapped in his endless crossing. The old woman nodded. "Hard questions," she said, "but hush now. Be still. When the devil sleeps, I'll pluck the golden hairs from his head, and if you listen closely, you might just hear the answers." The boy curled up deep within the folds of her dress, heart pounding, and he waited for night, for danger, and for truth. As evening fell, the shadows thickened, and the devil returned home. The very ground seemed to tremble beneath his steps. His cloak reeked of smoke, and sparks danced in his wild hair. The moment he stepped inside, he sniffed the air. His eyes narrowed. "I smell man's flesh," he growled. "Something's not right." He stomped around the room, sniffing, peering into corners, pulling open cupboards. But he found nothing. His grandmother snapped at him from her chair. "I just swept the floor and set everything in order, and now you're throwing it all into chaos again with your wild sniffing. You always think you smell man's flesh." Grumbling, the devil slumped into a chair. "Sit down," she barked, "and eat your supper." He ate and drank, and slowly the fire in his eyes dimmed. His body slouched with weariness. Then, without another word, he laid his fiery head in her lap, and soon he was fast asleep. His breathing grew heavy, deep. A snore rolled through the room like distant thunder. Now, the old woman moved quickly. She reached into his thick, burning hair, grasped a golden strand, and pulled. The devil yelped. "Ow! What are you doing?" "I had a bad dream," she said calmly, patting his head. He grunted. "What did you dream?" "I dreamt of a fountain in a marketplace," she said, "that once flowed with wine, but now it's dry. Not even water comes from it. What could be the cause?" The devil snorted. "If they only knew. There's a toad sitting under a stone inside the well. That's what's stopping it. Kill the toad, and the wine will flow again." With that, he drifted off again, snoring louder. The windows trembled. The second hair. She tugged it free. The devil shot upright again, more irritated this time. "Ha! What now?" "I'm sorry," said the grandmother quickly. "Another bad dream." He growled, his eyes narrowing. "What now?" "I dreamt of a tree in a distant kingdom. It once bore golden apples. Now it won't even grow leaves." "Why?" He huffed. "There's a mouse gnawing at the roots. If they kill it, the tree will bloom again. But if they wait too long, the tree will die." He flopped back down, eyes heavy. "But I swear, if you wake me again, you'll get a box on the ear." The boy, hidden deep in the folds of her dress, held his breath. 2 hairs down, 1 to go, and only one more dream. The old woman, wise and gentle, spoke softly to the devil as he drifted back into sleep. His breath grew slow, steady, and soon, the infernal snoring began again. This was the moment. She reached down once more, fingers steady grasped the 3rd golden hair, and pulled. The devil shot up like lightning, howling in fury. He roared, flames crackling in his voice, rage burned in his eyes, and for a moment it seemed he might lash out at her. But she stayed calm, patient. "Who can help bad dreams?" she said gently. The devil growled through clenched teeth. "What was it this time?" "I dreamt of a ferryman," she said softly. "He's trapped, doomed to row back and forth forever. Why is he never released?" The devil sneered. "Ha! the fool. All he has to do is hand the oar to the next person who wants to cross. That poor soul will take over, and he'll be free." And with that, the devil collapsed back into slumber, breathing fire into his dreams once more. The old woman let him sleep until morning. When he was gone, she gently reached into her robes, took out the little ant, and whispered, "You've done it." She waved her hand, and in an instant, the boy stood before her once more, tall, strong, and human again. "There," she said, "3 golden hairs from the devil himself, and I trust you heard the answers?" "Yes," said the luck child, "I heard everything, and I'll never forget." "Then go," she said with a smile, "you have what you need." He bowed, full of gratitude. "Thank you for saving my life." And he left hell behind, filled with hope. When he reached the river, the ferryman was waiting. "Well," he asked, "did you find out how to set me free?" "Ferry me across first," said the boy, "and I'll tell you." They crossed the river, and on the other side, the boy turned and said, "Next time someone asks to be ferried, give them the oar. Let them row, then you'll be free." The ferryman stared, wide-eyed. "That's it, that's it." He walked on. When he reached the town of the golden apple tree, the watchman rushed up. "Well, what's the cure?" The boy smiled. "There's a mouse gnawing at the roots. Kill it and the tree will bear fruit again." The watchman, overjoyed, handed him 2 donkeys loaded with gold. "Take these," he said. "It's the least we can do." And the boy moved on. Finally, he arrived at the town where the wine fountain had gone dry. The watchman there leaned in, eager. "Did you find the answer?" "Yes," said the boy. "There's a toad hiding under a stone in the well. Remove it, and the wine will flow once more." The watchman rejoiced, thanked him with all his heart, and offered even more riches. But the luck child had all he needed now. He had the golden hairs. He had the answers. He had gold enough to live in peace. And most of all, he had proven that courage, kindness, and a little luck could carry him through even hell itself. At long last, the luck child returned home. His wife ran to him with tears in her eyes, wrapping her arms around him. She had worried, but now she saw that not only had he survived, he had triumphed. He told her everything, the devil, the golden hairs, the riddles he'd unraveled, and how everything had turned out right. Then he went to the king. In his hands were the 3 golden hairs of the devil himself. Behind him followed 4 donkeys, their backs sagging beneath bags of gleaming gold. The king's jaw dropped. This was far more than he had expected. "Well," he said, "as wide and greedy, all the conditions are fulfilled. You may keep my daughter, but tell me, dear son-in-law, where did you get all that gold?" The boy smiled. "I was ferried across a river," he said simply, "and on the other side, the gold lies there on the ground, like sand on a beach." The king leaned in, breath quickening. "Can I go get some, too?" "As much as you like," said the boy with a sly smile. "Just go to the river. There's a ferryman there, he'll take you across." The king wasted no time. He galloped away, his mind swirling with dreams of endless riches. When he reached the river, he waved frantically to the ferryman. The boat pulled up. The king stepped in. They crossed. But as they reached the other side, the ferryman turned, handed him the oar, and jumped out. Before the king could even protest, the man was gone. And the king? He was left standing, oar in hand. And so the punishment began. Back and forth, rowing forevermore, trapped by his own greed. Perhaps, if no one has taken the oar from him, he's still there,